I'm here with Rod Smith, and he is going to tell us about the Family Medical Leave Act. Welcome, Rod.
It's good to be here.
So does the Family Medical Leave Act apply to everyone in every circumstance?
No, there are specific requirements. First of all, you have to be a full-time employee. You have to work there at least a year. Second of all, not all employers are covered. You have to be an employer that has 50 or more employees within a 75-mile radius. But that covers a huge amount of employers, as you know, and it entitles you to 12 weeks a year. And even if you don't know you have those rights, the employer has to notify you of the rights that you have if you have a serious illness that happens to a spouse, that happens to a child, or in some circumstances a parent. And it is important because you're entitled to reinstatement to your employment, and that can't be counted as absenteeism, if you will. That can't be counted against any absences that you're otherwise entitled to. You have a right to take it, and you don't have to take it in 12 consecutive weeks. You can take it on a partial basis as long as it's 12 weeks within a year. Now, the employer has the right to determine a different year. It can be a rolling year, meaning from one date to the next. It can be a calendar year, which is typically January to January, or it can be an otherwise designated year that meets the criteria, but the employer can't change that in order to avoid their obligation to
in every circumstance.
That's exactly.
And are you paid while you're off?
No, you're not entitled to
pay. So you choose this.
But it does entitle you to get your job back.
And you still have your health insurance. That I was thinking of a situation if your spouse was ill.
One of the most important things about the Family Medical Leave Act is it does entitle you to continuation of your employment benefits, so that you're right. If you had individual health care covered, you still have it. You may have an obligation to pay for it while you're off without pay, but it can't be discontinued. So that when that's really important is that the person who's ill may very well be somebody, say a spouse. If it's a spouse who's ill, that may be very well someone that you have to have the insurance benefit for, because that's the cost that's ongoing. And one of the things, and some of the case law has been very tough on employers who really have not continued the benefit, where it seems to be they're trying to avoid an obligation that's based on what's going to be an extremely expensive procedure or a long-term expense associated with the medical claim. So the Family Medical Leave Act, I get a lot of calls from employers and employees alike.
So it's important that people realize what they're entitled to.
Absolutely.
And of course that they're not going to be paid, but they are going to be able to continue their insurance.
It's also important that you need to, if you have a family medical emergency, let your employer know. You don't need to know whether or not you're covered, but you do need to let them know you have a serious family health condition. And then if your rights are there, it's the employer's obligation to give you those rights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.